You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Luke, what's wrong?
Leia, do you remember your mother? Your real mother?
Just a little bit. She died when I was very young.
What do you remember?
Just images, really. Feelings.
Tell me.
She was very beautiful. Kind, but sad. Why are you asking me this?
I have no memory of my mother. I never knew her.
Luke, tell me, what's troubling you?
Vader's here. Now, on this moon.
How do you know?
I felt his presence. He's come for me. He can feel when I'm near. That's why I have to go. As long as I stay, I'm endangering the group and our mission here. I have to face him.
Why?
He's my father.
Your father?
There's more. It won't be easy for you to hear it, but you must. If I don't make it back, you're the only hope for the Alliance.
Luke, don't talk that way. You have a power I don't understand and could never have.
You're wrong, Leia. You have that power, too. In time, you'll learn to use it as I have. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. And my sister has it. Yes. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
Then you know why I have to face him.
No. Luke, run away. Far away. If he can feel your presence, then leave this place. I wish I could go with you.
No, you don't. You've always been strong.
But why must you confront him?
Because there is good in him. I felt it. He won't turn me over to the Emperor. I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side. I have to try.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interanti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Good morning, everyone. This is iWalter on this Thursday, September 3rd at 3:45 a.m. I am back once again. I didn't think I was going to do it, but welcome back to my show. Yeah, I actually had to use that I made a monologue out of Star Wars Return of the Jedi because I actually decided, I bought those a while ago. I actually didn't have to pay anything for it because I traded in all these Blu-ray or DVDs and stuff I had laying around a while back, and I basically used the money. It was at FYE to get that what do you call it? That Star Wars package. Now, the thing was, I wanted the original movies uncut, and, the first three, and I end up, they're real difficult to find at this point, though. So you know what? The more I thought about it was like, because I tracked them down on VHS for like $15. They were real good condition, but unfortunately, the VCR I have upscaled them. They look, the first one looked pretty crappy. So they did release all 3 movies at one point on DVD only, and in its original format. So of Star Wars. So the thing was, I only am actually, honestly, I think it's only the first one that kind of gets under my skin. How Lucas had to, tweak it. I mean, some of the stuff was okay, but honestly, I'd rather see it the way I originally had, saw that particular movie in theater, in the movies, not the way he changed it. So, but the other ones actually, honestly, they did need some tweaking. I mean, I hate to admit to it, but yeah, they kind of did need some tweaking. So, anyhow, I was like getting through right now. I was trying to get through Return of the Jedi, which was my least favorite of the original 3. The first 2 were good, really good. They were excellent. The third one started out with a lot of promise, and you had to wait forever for the third one to come out. But when it finally came out, it was like, I guess your hope, you build up all this, finally it's here. And then when you finally see it, it's just like, again, it's great because it starts out on the right track and it just kind of disintegrates. I don't like those little, those little teddy bear things. Those things were just horrible. Anyway, that being said, I'm in the middle. There was a lot of good segments. I hated the very end of that film as well. I couldn't stand the way they showed Darth Vader, because they kind of gave you an impression in Empire Strikes Back. This is my opinion. Well, I think everybody shares this opinion, that Empire Strikes Back actually gave you an impression that Darth Vader is going to look a lot more sinister than some man who basically had an egghead and looked like some gentle old man. I mean, this man was like tearing people apart for the first 2 films, and then by the third one, and partially in the third one, but then when you finally see what he looks like, it's like, that's not what anybody imagined. I know Lucas just had this weird thing, and you know what? Honestly, I am almost quite pleased to see that somebody else has actually taken over his franchise, because maybe there'll be some promise, because I mean, J.J. Abrams has done a lot of really good stuff. Anyway, I haven't quite decided what I want to make my background picture to look like. I had an idea. Like I always, every episode, I try to make something a little bit more creative than just putting my photo of myself from like 30 years ago or 20 years ago. I try to make it a little bit more original. And I had an idea, but I didn't really put it together yet, so I might do something different. Anyway, it was funny. I was at work, and this was depressing, too. I got to mention more about work tonight, I guess. It's nothing new with me. But before I go into that, this was really cool. I actually grabbed it off of YouTube, but a guy named Richard Russell made this short, and it was like, I think it was on one of these horror pages I have. I think it might be Beneath the Underground. I can't remember. But most of the time, I'm not that impressed by a lot of these films, not even shorts, just these films these guys do, these, from Pennsylvania, except Ryan's. I liked his a lot. But this guy did this short, and it's Pills, all caps. And it actually, the way he, basically the structure of it and everything was so well executed. I told the guy, and he made it black and white, which I'm always a big fan of. You're going to do something independent. I got started on that, I guess, from Lynch and obviously Kevin Smith, because his first film was in black and white. But it adds to an art form if you're doing like an art piece. And this really was. This one called Pills again. It's on my Facebook page by Richard Russell. And it was really, again, well executed. I would say watch. It's only 3 minutes long. And it's like, listen, every minute had information in there. He did like some static shots, or he did basically they're called POV, point of view shots. Those were well put in there, and then he also did these flashes of, like, I guess what happens at the very end, like quick flashes. It was like, you know what, you really have a talent. I mean, much more than I ever can say I would ever have or ever had. But he wrote underneath, sometimes addiction can go too far. Song collapse by, I can't even, this one I honestly can't pronounce their name, but you got to just watch it. That's all I'll say. So, yeah, it was really cool. I told the guy, I said, listen, not only was it well executed, I got to put this on my Facebook page, which I did. I didn't know this existed, but there is a web link that was on this page I was on. And it was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to bookmark this one. It's called exploitation.tv. It's like one of those not .coms, not one of those .nets, because they're all filled up. So it's called .tv. I'm looking at it now. It says plans start at $7 a month. But it's basically, you get to watch all these exploitation films. And it was like, wow, I don't think I would have time or the patience to watch a lot of them. But the fact that there's actually an exploitation web page that you can pay and watch all the ones you want to watch. I mean, honestly, most exploitation... No, let me rephrase it. All the exploitation films are usually really bad. But the fact that they have a link now... Sorry about that. Itching my nose. Is just incredible. So they won't let you watch them unless you basically sign up. But you can definitely see some pretty wild films that way. Yeah, so I saw that and was like, yeah, this is actually pretty cool. Again, it'd be something else that's like you just waste money on. You know, if you have more than enough time, like, to do nothing, that would be one thing I would definitely probably waste my money on. So, yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. I'm just, tonight I'm just I always do this. Well, what's different? I know. Some guy was like actually on when I was online. He was watching. He said it was in the process of watching this film called Walled In, and I never even heard of it. That's the great thing about these websites that are basically Facebook fanzine sites for horror films, because you're finding like names of movies you never even knew existed. And I usually try to check these out on. I will try to rent them when I have the time. Yeah, this one called Walled In has a title underneath. It says, Some Secrets Are Best Left Buried. And it's got a European rating on there. So the only way I'd probably be able to get it is if I get it overseas or as a bootleg. I'd prefer to rent some of this stuff just to check it out, because I like things that are different. Yeah, I'm trying to think. One thing was about work, though, and it was kind of shocking, actually. I want to go into that in a minute, because I mentioned to like a friend or two, and they really don't answer back. But we also got I got a work email address. Everybody does. You have to have one. So I link in to see if there's anything I had to update on reading material for work. Did anything change in my job? Or did I get any emails that say, hey, listen, you're basically fired by now by doing this show? But I didn't get any of that stuff. I got something really shocking, though. I'm going to read without getting into the name of where I work, if I can do this properly. But it was in a particular building. It says, this morning we learned the outcome of our grievance over the outsourcing of the place I work. It's a pharmaceutical operations, and the closing of this particular building that happened last year. We believe then, and still do, the contract language to be clear and favorable regarding our concerns. At the close of our arguments on March 23rd of this year, we believe a swift decision would be handed down in our favor. Basically, we would get our jobs back because they were all outsourced from this particular building. This was sent to me yesterday, and it says, this morning, almost 6 months later, we've learned the arbitrator did not agree. He had ruled in the company's favor, and this is devastating news. We want members to know we are working on any and all options we can use going forward. And it says we ask membership to be patient while we pursue these options. And then it states we will keep you informed as much as possible through this process. And then it says, most important, we ask that you stick together. Never has this been more important than now. In solidarity. So the problem with that is, though, what I just read, and I didn't give it away somehow, is this is a problem because after what I saw today, it's like it's no shock why our company is outsourcing a lot of this work. And, I mean, I really honestly do feel bad for saying this, but it's blatantly obvious. And I hate to say it, now it's not true for everyone because it's the management. Now it's not true for, now I'm like, hear me out. It's not all our managers. We got some good management, upper management and managers, but we got other ones who just don't care. And plus we just got employees who just really, take their job for granted. So it's a combination of both. And it's an even combination. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I just found out tonight from like talking to different coworkers that you talk about inequality, but they're, women, the younger ones, the younger women that work at my job, they look like teenagers because of the way they act, physically the way they look. And they're in their like late 20s, early 30s. And they're really using what do you call it? They're taking sexually advantage of the situation. They're taking advantage of a situation sexually, if that makes any sense. Like there was some song from Pat Benatar I'm thinking of, and I can't remember the name of it. Maybe I could look it up. Maybe I will. If I can find it, but she basically the verse in her song is "Don't use sex as a weapon" or something like that. And it's like, yeah, well, these girls at work are actually doing that. They're using basically their their appeal of being a woman who is not bad looking in their favor. They're sexually taking advantage of everyone else basically and the supervisors. Now you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? Well, I just found out when I was talking to this one woman, I don't have this actually here, and I left my CD in the car. So I might not be able to do it as easily as I thought I could. So I'm trying to see if I can find it. It doesn't really matter. It was like on a best of Pat Benatar, but going back to that again, I know. But yeah, I don't see the name of it. So, but yeah, she literally does say in this thing, yeah, don't use sex as basically as a weapon or as a tool. But these girls at our job, they do. And it's, I'm not even just saying that like, oh, well, you're just you're basically just jealous of these girls. It's like, no, well, if you want to call it that, but I found out like, everybody, if you worked in retail or where I work, you have supplies that come in, and where do they come in? They come in on a loading dock. So this one girl in particular, this was one example I'll give you. This one girl, this woman told me, yeah, the bosses don't put their foot down, but this one girl, she got breast implants. She's a young girl. She's got big breast implants. She's a single mother. And she's got a reputation. in this particular building. I'll leave it at that. So the one day, what does this happen to do with anything? Well, I'll explain in a minute. The one day this girl was late for work. She's late for work a lot, apparently. I don't know because she doesn't come in until like third shift. Well, I heard that she must have worked early shift. She must have worked day shift as well, and she was even late for that. Or something on that line. So anyway, she comes in and she's supposed to clean this loading dock area. Just clean it up, get it straightened up. So she doesn't actually do it. She does very little work on this loading dock. She does minimal amount of work. And the boss lets her go, but this woman told me that she also was in her street clothes. Now you're going to get, and this is going to be entertaining. She was in her street clothes where you're supposed to be wearing, we get uniforms. But she wasn't wearing her uniform. She was wearing her street clothes. And her street clothes, for the minimum amount of work she was doing, was either, I swear she said it was a tube top. Now, that's why I mentioned about the breast implants. It was a tube top, and then I've seen her before. She wears, like, not all the time. She's not like this other one I always complain about. But a lot of the women there do. She was wearing, like, wear spandex, black, shiny, tight spandex. So what does that happen to do anything? Well, there you go. She's using sex as a tool to not, basically take advantage of the bosses. And I said this to many people. They don't want to hear this, but my one friend said this. He's a supervisor, too. And he's admitted to this before. He says, I've got myself into trouble before because I'm thinking with my little head and not my big head. And if you don't know what that means, I will tell you. And it basically means being a male, if you're heterosexual, it's just a typical man thing. You're going to be thinking with your dick and not your brains. No offense. And this happens at our job. I don't care if you're married or single. If you're a heterosexual male, you're going to basically be thinking about, like, if a girl comes up to you, any straight guy, and she's got on a pair of lycra spandex where her underwear is like whatever she has on, because it could be possibly a thong, that her panty line is showing through, and other things, like her vagina is showing through the pants, and her what do you call it? Her thong. And on top of it, she's got breast implants and she's wearing a halter top. Do you really think this boss is going to say, well, I know you're dressed inappropriately, but you really need to do your job? No. Trust me. These bosses will think with their little head and not their big head. So do they get pushed to do more work? Absolutely not. Who gets pushed with the work? Well, the women who don't look that attractive. No offense. Nothing against them, but just the plain Jane women. Or the women who don't feed into, I don't need to sell my body to get out of doing work. Now, that sounds really harsh, but unfortunately, it's true. And I heard this from a woman. She didn't say it in that direction, but she did say, and I've seen this girl dress before, this particular woman. She is a woman. She's like in her late 20s, early 30s. So that makes her a woman. No excuses. But I've seen her walk around in her street clothes. I didn't know she does it all night. And yes, I've seen her in spandex. And this woman took it one step further and said she actually had on a tube top, cleaning our loading dock when you're supposed to be wearing a uniform. So say what you want to say. Tell me that I'm a dog. Tell me that I'm jealous, or even mention to me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But, the proof is in the pudding. And what you see is what is really happening. What you like to believe is obviously something different. So you can live in the imaginary world and just pretend I'm just don't know what I'm talking about, or you can see what really is going on. And unfortunately, you're seeing the collapse of our, my job. And I even said this to a person. I said, these people get away with, especially certain girls, they get away with doing nothing, taking advantage of the company. And what's happening, we're losing our jobs. Because do you think the company I work for wants to hear, oh, well, that's okay. So what if we lose a couple $1 million in process processing product or whatever. Do we really care? No, because you know what? At least you guys are getting to see some nice tail, and that's what's really important. No, because I hate to say it, the ones who pay the price are the consumer, because the product's not being made. And two, because I am one of them, the shareholders. I just mentioned to a friend tonight, on my shares of, stock shareholds for Merck. Well, I actually have Merck. I have actually other companies too. That is one in particular, because that's a pharmaceutical company as well. But, there's Teva and there's other ones. But I do got stock in, foreign company trades. And I got stock in, it's in my 401k, but it's basically stock shareholds. I also got stock in like that company and some other companies. Well, if that company is any comparison to the company I work for, yeah, that's a problem, because my stock or my shareholds, I lost about 20 grand in a short period of time. So, yeah, I know everybody's feeling it. And you're not supposed to be taking, worrying about your 401k now. But that you know what? It's just going to get progressively worse. And, yeah. So I mentioned one company, but my company is going down the wrong direction. I am losing money out of my 401k, which is basically consisted of stock shareholds. So does that bother me? Yeah. So, people need to wake up. They don't care. All they think about is instant gratification in themselves. So that is a major concern and a major problem of mine. Losing 20 grand is a lot of money to me. So that's about right. Because I tried to figure it out. I was like, wait a minute. I had almost, not much, because I started late. I had about about $70-some thousand in my 401k. Now, I did borrow some money from myself, and I excluded that. With that excluded, it was around 70-some grand. Now it's down to a little over 50. And that was, again, excluding what I borrowed from myself from my 401k. Is this a problem? Yeah. Does it make me think about these companies out here where you got women who take advantage of where they work? And, they do it by being provocative. Oh, yeah, certainly. I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting any tail. I don't want any. I'm just using it as a figure of speech. But I do want my job, and I want to know what's going to be there tomorrow. And I do want my retirement fund not to get any smaller because of people not taking their job seriously. So, yeah, that is a real big concern of mine. So anyway, this same particular girl, by the way, that I mentioned, because there's a couple girls, and actually there's women in other buildings. They do exactly the same thing. If they are decent looking, what guys would go for, which means they don't have to look great in the face. I'm not saying they do or don't, but they don't have to. But if they have a decent, the best way to put it, a decent body. The girl obviously has breast implants, as I mentioned, and I don't know if the other ones do. I'm just saying this one did. But if they have a decent body and they want to basically make their job very easy, they take advantage of the fact that they are decent looking by taking advantage of the bosses, which in return takes advantage of me and everyone else who are hard workers at my job. Now, I've been in so much pain because of all the work that's been pushed on me lately that I can barely sleep through the night. Like, I'm lucky if I get a few hours sleep before I wake up, and I'm in like extreme pain. Like, I can't feel my arm. I can't feel my hand. It's gotten so bad that also just the stress from my job, that the problems I've had with in the past from being stressed out, of not sleeping, what's the first thing that's going to happen? You're going to start hallucinating because you're not getting the proper amount of sleep. So the hallucinations don't help either when you see things that are very, very scary. So I'm not getting the proper amount of sleep because of the pain and then the hallucinations kick in. So, do I want to be put on medications just so I can get some sleep and to get rid of the pain? Not really. But that's what it's going to lead to, because, again, it just goes back to you got these people, select people, who just get away with doing absolutely nothing. And the bosses don't care because, again, they are thinking with their little head, not their big head. And, again, I'm not saying that's every supervisor. We got a few who are jaded to the fact they're on to what the females, the women, are doing at our job. And it's not all of them. But the ones that do it are actually ruin their job. Not their job. Well, they are going to ruin their job too. But they're ruining the job for the women who are trying to make a living for themselves. They're also ruining the job for millions, other people too at this job, which is eventually going to be withered away to absolutely nobody left. So they don't realize, they don't think the big picture. They just think about themselves and instant gratification and how they should be having a good time. So anyway, this one girl that I'm making the protagonist of my show tonight, she went one step further one time, and it's always a different story with this one girl in particular. Apparently, the one day she came in really late. I don't know how late. I'm going to say really late. I got to exaggerate. It's a radio show. You got to make it more interesting. And the woman told me, this one particular woman, was because she was too busy putting on her jewelry and makeup. Well, here's the problem. Where we work, most factory jobs, you're not allowed to wear makeup. This job I work at, they tell you for the women. I made a joke with this woman that said this to me. I said, yeah, I actually had to give up wearing my makeup and my jewelry too. I don't wear jewelry, and obviously I don't wear makeup. So, it's a joke. But, yeah, you're not supposed to wear jewelry or makeup because it's prohibited at our job. But she was putting it on at work in the bathroom, and she made her extremely late. So why would a woman put on war paints and wear a tube top or spandex pants, makeup, and jewelry? Who are you trying to impress at a job? You're supposed to be there to do a job, because we don't have outsiders. It's a factory job. Who are you impressing? And what are you trying to do? Well, basically, one, it indicates to me you're trying to get out of doing work. Two, you're basically trying to find a way to get, I don't know how else to put it, so I'll just say in the easiest way I know how to put it, how to get laid. So, and if you have a reputation and you wonder why, well, maybe that's why. And you're not helping the situation by not listening to dress codes or anything else, which she is not, this particular. And there's other ones. She's not the only one. But again, this one particular woman is the protagonist of my show tonight. So that being said, this one piece of paper that I just read is an example of what's going to happen, because a company can't survive on stupidity and negligence and people who only believe in instant gratification. So what ends up happening, this company that I work for, places like I mentioned, and other kind of companies, that doesn't matter because, I mentioned in another show about Oreo. What are they going to do when they got people that are just that negligent, that absent-minded? Not absent-minded, just that irresponsible. Well, let's see. What did Oreo do? Well, they decided, okay, it's costing us too much money. We're losing too much money. We'll write it off. It's a tax write-off for these places. I'm sure the one for Oreo was, which I think that's Nabisco, isn't it? But what did they do? They said, okay, we're going to build new plant sites, and they're going to run more efficiently, and they're going to cost us a lot less, because I work for a union company, because we're going to send everything, like the car I have. I have a Volkswagen. That's made in the same place I'm going to mention, Mexico. So what are they doing? They're saying, listen, we can't afford to pay these people for just basically messing up all the time and making up excuses for things. So what are we going to do? We're going to move everything. We're going to open up. It's going to cost us some money, but we're going to make plant sites down in Mexico where there is no unions. There is no regulations on how we make the product. And we're going to make it at a more cost-effective price, which then we can probably pass on to the consumer or make a larger profit for the shareholders, which would include me. Now, if I had a choice between better shareholds or having my job, I would definitely take a job because I'm not lazy. And there's one woman I talked to, she said the same thing. Some people, she got accused, she said before, that she's going to ruin, I made this joke with a friend, but she's heard this, that her trying to do the best she can, if she's got downtime, she's going to find something to do. She's not going to sit around. But what she's heard from other people is, by you doing this, you're going to ruin our jobs because we're not going to get overtime, and we're all going to be out of work we're not going to have overtime. So people's big concern at my job is, how can we make more money? And it basically is by doing less work. Or I heard this years ago the place I work. The people that were these technicians had a supervisor who had no background experience of being a technician. So I heard them say, like, oh, yeah, we would deliberately mess up what we were working on because the person who was our supervisor had no clue that we messed up because they were basically just an outside person they hired to supervise us. But he or she had no clue what was going on. All they knew was how to execute, basically what they needed to do. But did they know what was actually physically going on? Absolutely not. Did these technicians take advantage of that fact? Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, can you see there's a problem here? And people don't seem to see the problem. The problem they see is, well, I'm going to be out of a job, and I'm not going to be making the overtime I'm making now. Well, you know what? In the real world, because I work at a job that we get paid way too much money, in the real world, these people that are making even $38 an hour in the real world, doing the same job they're doing now, my guess is they're going to be making $22, which is really a good amount of money. That's not bad at all. I myself, I make $32, but in the real world for me, I'm lucky if I'll make 10, possibly 15 if I work at McDonald's, because, McDonald's pays $15 an hour. But, yeah, you're talking more like $10 or $12 an hour. And for these people, and I have a degree, but my degree is worthless. The degree that these technicians have, yeah, they can go somewhere else, and they can get decent money. Are they going to be making $38 an hour? No, they're making $22 probably, if they're lucky. And, people of trades, though, like electrician or a plumber, they'll probably make a little more. They'll probably make about $25 an hour. They'll probably make more than these technicians will. But do they see this, the big picture? No, it's beneath them. I'm beneath these people at this point because I'm the one who makes a big fuss about all this stuff. So, to me, this is a very serious concern. Do people find this as alarming as I do? No, they don't. No, I can say that honestly. So, anyway, I'm gonna let that go now. I just needed to get that out, and then I got to figure out what I want to do for some type of picture tonight for my my little thing. I'll figure out something. I had an idea, but yet it was kind of funny. This is something I did grab off of Facebook, off somebody else's page today. It was this little girl. She's 8 years old. She's a guitarist. I'm sorry, she's strumming a guitar. It says guitarist. I almost said TARDIS, but a guitarist. Zoe Thompson shredding. I don't know what it is that she's actually playing, but it's really good. This girl's got like some pretty fast fingers for a little kid. But it was really cool. I got it off somebody's link. Yeah, there are some pretty morbid stories I found. One was Dylan Smith accidentally killed himself while taking a selfie with a gun. That was on the Dreamin' Demon. So the guy is a total moron, obviously. He's dead now, so we don't have to worry about that. Houston, Texas, police say a 19-year-old Dylan Smith accidentally killed himself taking a selfie while holding a gun. The incident happened in an apartment on Tuesday as Smith and a cousin were taking pictures of themselves holding a gun. They found and then posted them online, I guess. Yeah, post them online. Something that stupid I don't want to read anymore because it's just the guy's a total moron. Even if it was unloaded, I would still be worried about, hey, could there be possibly still a bullet in one of the chambers that I forgot to take out, even though I thought I did? You know, I would never do that. There was another one. It was on, this was Christopher Morbid Lee, but they're actually, it's Dreamin' Demon also. I thought so. He does have two different links, but they're both the same thing. Fort Washington, Texas. Oh, Fort Worth, Texas. I'm sorry about that. Basically, an 11-year-old boy who beat a neighbor's small dog to death with a stick last May has been sentenced to 18 months of probation. According to police, the boy chased the 15-pound Cavalier mix cookie out of its backyard and cornered it on a porch, and then he used a stick to beat the animal to death. Yeah, that kid might have a little bit of issues going on there. So, since I'm here on Dreamin' Demon, there's always something good to read. I think I saw this before. I just never really bothered to read it. 2 men charged in connection with the murder of a Dr. Teresa Shivers. That was on August 28th, though. Police have arrested and charged 2 men from Missouri in a connection with the murder of Dr. Teresa, a popular doctor who was found dead inside of her Florida home. The 46-year-old mother of 2 operated the Restorative Health and Healing Center with her husband, Mark, and was well known for her work with transgender patients. On the 29th, though, Shivers left her husband and 2 daughters at a Connecticut gathering and returned home. The next day, she was found dead in her home. I'm not going to read anymore. That was, again, on the Dreamin' Demon. It seems a little bit like foul play to me. Something more involved. Why would you just go home and they found the people who killed her, thank God, but still, there's something that's not, doesn't make any sense. There's an article, by the way, I'm not going to read it because I read this before, and I feel bad. The reporter, Allison Parker, and the cameraman shot to death on live TV. That goes back to the 26th. It's hard to believe how time flies. Yeah, it's a shame, I guess you got to be careful in whatever you do. I'm not sure what to say, because I was almost going to mention, I wonder if there was more to that, too. I almost thought at first, but I think I stood corrected on something I was listening to. I got to start listening to Rush Limbaugh again. I've kind of failed to do that for the past 2 weeks. Because I used to actually use Rush for a lot of my information, too. But I thought he mentioned it when this happened that, I was going to take the side almost of the gay man who went AWOL on these 2 people, thinking that maybe they possibly, sorry, my neck got a twitch, I had to go away from my mic, that they might have been harassing him, which led him to just, basically losing his cool and killing these 2 people and himself. But I think I had stand corrected when I listened to Rush. See, this is why I need to start listening to these shows again. Yeah, so Hey, by the way, if you do check out my Facebook page, somebody really had put up some interesting pictures. This is MT Psychiatric Center in New York. These pictures are really, really artsy looking, I guess. But it was on this thing shared by Penhurst State School and Hospital's album. But yeah, these are really sharp looking pictures. I know you're looking basically at abandoned buildings. That's all they really are. But these pictures in particular looked pretty cool. Yeah, I really wasn't sure if I was going to read this because I think this is about a video game, but I'll look at it because my source of information is, which is a good thing, is not very thick tonight. There's not much there. But I saw this. I posted on my Facebook page for BloodyDisgusting.com. It says Silent Hills lives on in a newly discovered Metal Gear Solid 5 Easter egg. Yeah, see, it's all about video games. So there's an Easter egg of Silent Hill in this video game called Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So if you're a big gamer, you might be interested in knowing that. Oh, well, that is nasty looking. Sorry, there's a thing, Universal may relaunch Jaws and Back to the Future. I heard that wasn't going to happen. But there's this really nasty picture of that mechanical shark that even scares me. It was a publicity shot that I don't even think they ever used. But I'll tell you, it's giving me nightmares right now. I'm not even sleeping. There's an interesting situation down with Steven Spielberg's DreamWorks. The mini studio has a distribution deal with Disney that is going to end next year, and the word is that they're leaving Disney and end up shacking with Universal. Now, should this end up being the case, two potential series will be strong contenders for the relaunch of Jaws and Back to the Future. Now, I remember reading something that they said the guy who did Back to the Future, I can't remember who, said over my dead body, so I don't know. Here's why people are thinking this of Spielberg has apparently always maintained his office at Universal, even when DreamWorks was working with Paramount and Disney. Additionally, he is you know what, I apologize, to the current run of Jurassic Park films. I guess basically he's tied into the Jurassic Park films. I didn't really like that new one. I know it made hand over fist of money. It's like the most highest grossing film, that Jurassic World, but I didn't find it entertaining at all. Anyway, it says he served as a hands-on exclusive producer for Jurassic World, which is now one of the top grossing films of all times, like I mentioned. As a result, Universal is supposedly interested in the above two franchises and seeing where they can go with those titles, basically Back to the Future and Jaws. Jaws I would be interested in. Back to the Future, it would be interested in too, but like I said, I heard that they, I was going to say Schumacher, but I got to look up who did that. I didn't know Spielberg was actually behind that. Both of these series featured strong involvement with from Spielberg, the former seeing his as director and the latter as executive producer. His name is on the project. His name on the project is incredibly important to the studio and perhaps more importantly to the fans. Alrighty, there's just a little more. It says, while some may balk at the relaunch or reboot of Jaws, I'm all for it. This guy from Bloody Disgusting. A summer blockbuster doesn't always need to be about saving the world, galaxy, or universe. Keep it small and rapidly and I'm far more likely to be moved and invested in the story. Plus, more killer sharks is always a good thing in my world. I do like the shark movies. I don't know why, but I really do like the shark movies. Unfortunately, though, it really just means at this point that people aren't thinking outside the box. That's the problem I have with it. Now that we got Wes Craven who passed away, Spielberg is like just having his stuff remade. Science fiction movies are just being sequel after sequel. Comic book movies are just sequel after sequel. Everything is just, it's just redoing the film or basically making a sequel to it. So there's no like in such a short period of time in our history of film work that nobody's trying to decide, well, I want to do something completely different. That's done with now. People don't want to do anything that's original. And that's sad. That actually is really sad. By the way, it was one thing I was going to mention, changing the direction of my show tonight. It was funny because I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, but here I found out, like, when I set up this new computer, which obviously is working really well, that I got this graphics card. If you're into computers, I got this video card. It's called the GeForce 770. Well, it's a GTX 770. I'm going to look at it now. Graphics card. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 770, 2 gigs of RAM on the video card. It's a really well-built card, and I put this in. I was hesitant to put it in at first because I had this ATI card that came with the machine I bought that I'm using now, and it was like, you know what? I'm just going to put in and see how it works, this NVIDIA card. Well, it works great. It works excellent. So anyway, here I didn't realize, even when I had my old computer, that it needs 2 power cables just to run it. 2 power cables will go to your power supply. Well, the one power cable was that it was needed was called a 6-pin connector. Well, the second one was a 4-pin connector. Well, guess what? I had 2 4-pin connectors running from the video card. And which means basically the card theoretically shouldn't have been running at all, but it did run. It just didn't run properly. It ran fine. It ran actually really nice. So it was like, okay, maybe those extra 2 pins were needed for a reason. It depends what you're doing. What I'm doing now, which is just reading stories, it's not needed. If you do anything that involves the need for more graphics power, it's going to need it. So anyway, I got the thing. I looked. They're hard to find because you have to buy what's called a 6-pin connector for a Mac Pro, which they don't make this particular model as of about 2 years ago. They stopped making this particular model, but they're still heavily in demand because they are upgradable. So it runs. Even my old one runs much faster than any new machine that's a PC, trust me. It's just well built. So anyway, I was wondering, like, okay, does this really make much of a difference? And yeah, it does. Sorry, I got distracted. I know, very easy for Walter. But the 6-pin connector I bought on Amazon, it was like $7, and it was the best $7 I actually spent because here I am. I am running it. I put it in. It was really easy just to plop it in right away, and it made a big difference. I actually did what they call you want to know how fast the graphics card what's like underneath the hood. So you run this thing. It's called a test, like a graphics test. I forget which one I run because there's different ones you can use. Benchmark test. So I got this one that's actually for Mac, and it's this company, but it's called Haven, I think is the name of the program. And it's free. You can pay for it too. I'm going to look for that right now. Yeah, it's called Haven. It could be Heaven, actually. Anyway, this graphics program, you do a test. I tested the card. It came with the machine. And it was pretty decent. I had to turn off certain settings. So if you're running anything that's graphically intense, it basically just let you know that the card's good. It's really good with that ATI card I had. But you're just going to have to set things down. You're not going to be running things at top notch. So it was like, let me try my other graphics card, which was designed for this machine I have now. I then had turned up the settings again to maximum on everything and tried the benchmark test again. And it ran the ATI video card right out of the water. Like, there was no comparison. Like, you're talking basically comparing a Ford Pinto to a Lamborghini. I mean, yeah, it was that much of a difference on speed performance. What the cards basically could handle and how fast it made your machine. So, little bit of sluggishness, but the sluggishness was so little, it wasn't even noticeable. So, I got this power cable tonight, and I ran this benchmark test again. It was like, okay, yeah, now it's really not only just running the way it's supposed to be, but it's also running faster yet and smoother. Because, you're not putting that stress on the graphics card that I was before, because what I was doing is it's requiring that, okay, you need a little bit more, it needs a little bit more juice. You're not giving it the right amount of juice. So it ran, but you're actually almost stressing out the video card. So the funny thing is, when I bought this card, I think I paid, my educated guess is I paid about $500 for it at the time. Now, this was a while back, so I had this card in another machine for quite a while. And the card now, I think you can actually get for a Mac. Somebody was selling one on eBay for like $200. It's like, it didn't drop that much, did it? And it's funny, though, because they do have faster cards from NVIDIA, and it was like, I wonder if it's even worth the money. And because the newer cards are going for, and especially if you get one modded for a Mac, you're talking almost between $1,000 to $1,500 just for a video card. Now, you're talking a video card that has 6 gigs of RAM and up. 6 gigs of RAM on a video card. That's a lot. Mine has 2 gigs. Before, they didn't even have a gig on there. So I'm like looking at this and was like, is this really kind of like worth it? Because it looks like it should be better. So I looked at the tests, like, you can go to these review sites that say, okay, this is what NVIDIA gets on, benchmarks on, like, processing video graphics, processing, rendering out, if you do video editing, audio editing, run certain Microsoft programs, it will give you the whole 9 yards on these tests. Well, NVIDIA actually just blew ATI out of the water every time, which was kind of impressive. I'm glad about that, because I didn't know that at all. It actually, I was surprised by that, because I even looked then when I was doing those, like, reading over these reviews, I was actually surprised to see that even ATI's newest video card is still much slower than NVIDIA. Well, the way NVIDIA does that, by the way, is they basically soup up their process. They basically, it's almost like they're overclocking their own video cards. That's the best way to put it. If you're going to look at it, that's what they are doing. And they're also, by doing so, they're also spiking up the juice level requirements. So, the power consumption. So I was looking at this and was like, okay, how does my card compare to newer cards? Now, it depends what review you read. But believe it or not, the highest end card right now from NVIDIA and my card, the percentage difference was like either about 1% or less. My card is retail value at now $200. The newest cards, if you want to say you have the biggest set of balls, is literally, again, $1,200 to $1,500. And the only difference on performance-wise is between 1% or less. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, well, that sold me on not to get it. And here's the real knee slapper. There's a guy actually on eBay right now. He's selling the highest end card from NVIDIA, and he has no need for it anymore. He probably paid about $1,200 or $1,500. He's willing to unload it for like $500 to $750, which sounds like a lot of money, but this man paid this person probably paid double that amount. And he's letting it go for like less than half. Now, here's the real thing, knee slapper though. I didn't know this. He said that the Mac machines like I have don't have enough power to run this card, and you will need to hook up. And he gave a recommendation for 2 different types of external power supplies that you can basically hook up the video card directly to an external power supply. One is a independent type power supply, and I was like, okay, I'm just kind of curious. I can't remember the name of it, but here's the real catch. You're buying a $1,500 video card. His external power supplies, it's like an independent power supply just to run the video card, goes for, I swear, it looked like $1,700. So you're buying a $1,500 card, and you need to buy, in addition, a $1,700 external power supply just to run the freaking card, which is only running 1% faster than what I already have. So it was like, this is getting even less appealing to me all the time. I'm going to actually have to look for this one, what this guy wrote, because I feel bad for the guy, because he gave links too. And this was on eBay, because I can check my listing for what I'm selling too. I'll look at that first. I got to give myself my own plug. By the way, I have an Apple Mac Pro quad core. It's all there right now. I only got one bid for $200, but it's worth a lot more than that. So if it doesn't go, I'm going to have to pull probably, because I'm not going to sell it for $200 for the money I put in there. But that's on eBay. And it's under my name, by the way. It's under Walter. Not iWalter, but actually Walter. Okay, let me look at this, because I think this is interesting. I'm doing what I want to do tonight. I always do, but this I'm really doing. This one guy is selling. It's funny. It looks like Saul, his name, like Better Call Saul. But anyway, he is selling an NVIDIA GTX. It's called a Titan Black 6 gig. It's been modded for Apple. Now, he's asking either, $500 if you win at that price, but he'd prefer to have $750, so he's not taking much of a loss. This guy wrote, he got it modded. He says, I bought this to use in my Mac rendering setup. Purchased it from my Mac video card from Mac Video Cards. There's a guy, a handle name, a person, whatever, a company that actually just basically mods video cards for Mac. They reflash the firmware to make them for Macs. So he said this one was used for about 6 months, but he said he used this thing called Cubics Expander. That is the external power supply. Now get this. I'm going to put this in now. Oh wait, I was way off on these prices. A Cubics Expander, which is an external type of power supply, $2,417, $2,821. So you're talking anywhere between $3. Now there's some that are even more money, $3 to $4 grand or $5,000. Now there's one that is actually $1,200, which is the cheapest one. It's called a Cubics Desktop Series Single Channel GPU Expander for laptop. Wow, that's the cheap one too, and that's over $1,200. That is just to run a video card. It's an external power supply just to run these mass high-end power graphics card. I have a high-end one. I never even paid remotely close to that. And this is like in addition to buying the video card. And he writes in here, though, with its own separate power supply, which is needed, it has only been used for 7 months. Oh, he's talking about the video card, but yeah, that expander is like $5,000. He said that the card, the one from NVIDIA, will fit into my Mac Pro. However, it requires more power than the Mac can give it. So you will need either an external housing like the Cubix expander, which costs $1,200 to $5,000, or install an additional power supply into the Mac Pro. Typically, you would replace the optical drive with the additional power supply for that card. So you basically, if you want to put an extra power supply in, which mine runs hot already, it would run like an oven beyond an oven. He mentioned something called Google Fire Power ZT. And now I haven't looked at the price of that Series 650 watt, for example, for an external auxiliary power supply. And he said, now on top of it, he said it will not work if you try to put in an external Thunderbolt chassis. Thunderbolt's that other technology for Mac. So you're talking almost as much as a car just to run a video card. Yeah, firepower. Let's see what the price is on this puppy. Okay, that's not as bad. It's like about $100 though. Well, he's talking a $650. Maybe that's more money. Yeah, it's about $100. So you're going to put in a power supply just for your graphics card because the machine can't handle it. That's going to cost you an additional $100, additional heat, additional wattage on a computer, and and he's it's only going to run 1% faster after everything's said and done, give or take. Now, if they pay these people, because they've done this probably before, they're pay these people who do these, these reviews on these video cards, they're paying money to make sure that they get a good review. So that's why a lot of times when I own this stuff, I basically do my own type, basically my own experiments, test out the cards. Most of the time, the reviews are on the up and up. Once in a while, it's happened. Actually, there was one guy who would do that. He would actually sell out. He does sell out a lot. Oh, I remember what his name is. It's Tom's Hardware, because I know a friend, computer geek fan friend. He actually told me that. Yeah, it's like if you look at Tom's Hardware, if they push enough money in his direction, he will give you an excellent review. So I don't know if I'm sure it's probably still true. I mean, I'd probably be the same way, I guess, if I got offered, hey, if you give us a good review, we'll comp you for that. It's not fair, but because you're not being honest to the people who buy this stuff. Because people are going to see it and it's like, wait. So, most of the time, you take the stuff with a grain of salt when it comes to people like him. Now, there was other links. There was one called The Register. It's from UK. They do, reviews, too, on hardware for computers. There was also another one. I think it was called The Inquirer. Not the newspaper, but The Register was the one, and I think there was one called, The Inquirer or something. It's for, basically computer hardware reviews or upcoming stuff. I'll see if I can find that, because make sure I'm giving it. I know The Register is one, but The Inquirer, it was also another British site. So I just want to make sure, because I'm doing a little bit different. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's called The Inquirer, theinquirer.net. And they basically give you tech reviews, too. And they're kind of easy to follow if you want to find out what's going on. Even sometimes, they even have a part. It says chips, hardware, and software. So I used to like them. And again, The Register was one. These are both recommended to me years ago from a friend named Rich. And I haven't followed those in years, but I used to use those. The Register right now has something back to school. 6 of the smartest, cheap, and cheerful laptops. But they cover hardware, and they're pretty good. I mean, there's some other links I would probably recommend, but these are from the UK. Sorry folks, I'm actually falling asleep. Sure, something wrong with that, but I didn't mean to yawn into the speaker. So apologize for going in a different direction, but again, I always try to do something different from my previous show, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I might just look at this as the last story. Not sure yet, but it's on comicbook.com. See, I'm taking a different direction, but it was on Stan Lee. I think I lost it. Something about, I guess he's not too happy, I'm sure, with that Fantastic Four movie. But, yeah, I just, again, try to go in a little bit of a different direction again. I always do. Sorry. And, sorry, folks, that's not a very smart thing to do. Oh, this is pretty cool. This looks really neat. This is on comicbook.com, comicbook.com. Star Wars Imperial Star Destroyer features a Grand Theft Auto V PC mode. It looks actually really cool. Watch it here. And that's on comicbook.com. Yeah, the one I was going to read was Stan Lee explains what makes a great superhero. Do you agree or disagree? And it says Stan Lee explains. Yeah, it says the same thing again. But it actually had the thing on this picture at one point. Yeah, it says Larry King tries to figure out so he was interviewed by Larry King in an interview. Basically, there's a clip of him being interviewed, Stanley on Larry King. I got to give that man credit. I'd like to see him before he dies, Stan Lee, because he's in his 90s now. He's not going to live that much longer, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I hope he lives for a long time, but it looks like it may not happen. I don't know, because you're trying to be realistic. Yeah. So obviously, when I'm starting to yawn, that means I'm beyond ran out of time. So. And it's not a good thing to do. Oh, this was pretty funny. I got to keep this one. This is a funny picture, and if I can figure out a way to save it, I will. But you know that old saying about beating a dead horse? This one's hilarious. Some guy put on from a story on Facebook, and I might see if I can leave it at that. It was on an article. It said, The Dark Knight 3 store logo variant cover revealed. So somebody posts a picture. I swear to God, it's a picture of three guys, and the one guy's got a stick in his hand. They look like business guys. They got shirt and ties on. And there's a horse laying down, and it's supposed to mean it looks like he's beaten a dead horse. That is classic. I like that. That is very classic. So, I might be still in the comicbook.com thing. Yeah, I am. So, yeah, hold on one moment. Yeah, this is not good, folks, tonight. I am just yawning like there's no tomorrow. So that's lack of oxygen and lack of sleep. So, might let you go at this. No, never mind. I'm not going to read it. It was on Huffington Post. Forget it. I'm not going to go there. Why ruin the night that started out so good? So anyway, yeah, I apologize to everyone that I don't have anything more interesting, but I think it started out pretty good, and I just kind of went on a downwards spiral to nothingness. So that being said, oh, wait a minute. I actually do have a story. It was on Drudge Report, too. So I'll leave it at this one, maybe, then. I actually found something. It was off a Drudge Report, but it says world's hip-hop.com. Hip-hop? And it's titled, Crazy Road Rage Leads to Man Bringing Out an Axe and Shooting His Gun. Uploaded September 2nd, 2015. A traffic accident occurred on August 25th in the morning in the streets, Teloslovakia, near the junction where the street is Kutzvak. And, wow, these words are incredible. But anyway, it just basically says the road rage incident in Russia with an axe and a gun, and no one was injured. And that's all it says. It says posted by P Smooth. So that's definitely going up on my Facebook page. That sounds like a good one to end. And it does say Drudge Report. Road rage leads to man bringing out an axe and shooting his gun. What is happening in this world? I don't know. I know it's going to be happening at my job. I'm not going to have one soon. So everyone, hey, have a good night. I apologize for those long pauses and stuff and the yawning. I didn't mean to do that, but it is early in the morning. So have a good one. I am signing off for now. This is iWalter.